Public Safety Committee to order. The Assistant Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Brooks?
Present.
Councillor Cormier?
Present.
Councillor Harder?
Present.
Open meeting recordings. No one here recording our meeting. The first item on the agenda, reading of minutes of prior meetings. There are no minutes of prior meetings. Item 2 is departmental updates. We'll start with the police department.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Staffing, we currently have three recruits in academies. One is graduating later today, actually. So we'll be headed down to Fitchburg State University to attend that. So that's good news. So the officer will be starting field training Monday. It's approximately 10 weeks for the pro, and then they'll be on their own after that. So we're getting a little bit of help back. So we're currently sifting through the deputy chief and the group the initial hiring group that's looking at resumes is going over the resumes now. We've got a lot of highly qualified candidates that we're looking through, so that's very positive. We're still waiting for notification on a burn grant. We applied for the burn grant in an attempt to make our domestic violence advocate a full-time position. She currently works 19 hours a week, but we'd like to make that a full-time position. The position has evolved tremendously since we brought it back, and I couldn't be more happy with the direction it's headed in and the person we have in there. So I'd like to obviously push to make that a full-time position here in the city because I think there's a strong need for it. So I still am anticipating the 3 retirements. One on December 1st, another one on January 20th, and then the third by March of next year. We have been trying to hire in the meantime. There's been some logistical issues with academies and stuff, but we are working on it, so we're still too short. With that, overtime, I've had several officers out with longer term injuries this year. One I've had out for 9 months, almost 9 months now. So these are things. I was just notified that another officer is probably going to be out for another period, 6 to 8 months as well with an injury. So this obviously has a cascading effect with backfilling shifts and overtime to keep a static level of that we feel safe in the city to respond to calls and assist each other. So some of our community outreach right now. Still continue to expand any programs we have. Budget cuts, we were notified, are coming to Shannon funds that we fund a lot of our, the junior academy and some of our hotspot patrols. It augments a lot of our overtime and stuff like that. So there is some cuts to that. I don't think it'll be dramatic, but we'll just have to tighten our belt a little bit with Shannon.
Is Shannon a federal grant?
It's a state. It's a state. It's an annual state. It's an anti-gang and truancy initiative. So we were actually part of the Tri-City initiative with that, with Fitchburg, Leominster, and us. I don't know if Leominster is back yet, but it's been Fitchburg and us for several years. So, but it's been a phenomenal source, revenue source for us to fund some of the programs that we do. Between that and some private donations, that's how we fund the Junior Police Academy with all the extras and stuff. So. It's a great program. We are currently exploring a comfort dog program for the community. We're working with the Lunenburg comfort dog handler to get some information on that. There's also one in Westminster. It's a well-received program. I think it'll do great things here. So we're kind of in the infancy stages of that, trying to determine how it'll look, how it'll roll out, who will oversee the program and things like that. The homeless outreach and post-OD follow-up we do with Gamma. We're still continuing to do it. Homelessness, we realize, is still obviously an issue, and we're still looking to assist in any way. We do a lot of the outreach and try to offer services, but unfortunately, a lot of the folks that are in the homeless, a lot of them choose to do that and choose to stay homeless, so, but we do offer services where we can. Budget, as I briefly mentioned previously, overtime is definitely an issue. I'm through about $128,000 so far in overtime since July 1st. That's pretty much mostly to cover contractual obligations, time off, and to keep shifts with injuries and sick time and everything else, to keep shifts at a static level. So, projects that we're working on will be actually coming to the council for a supplemental funding for our body worn camera program. We have been waiting for this. It has been ready to go since April. We just haven't had the funding. We've been waiting for grants. There have been no grants since the last time, and we did not receive the grant the last time for the body camera program. Unfortunately, I just don't think we can wait any longer. It's too much of a liability. We really need to get this done. We've done a pilot program. We've worked with the unions to establish policy. It's all ready to go. The only thing we need is funding. And I do think it's a major area of liability for the city if we do not do this. We're also researching vendor alternatives to our current building security. It's Signet, and the price of warranties is becoming almost cost prohibitive. So we're looking at different vendors to try to reduce the cost of that. And if we may come to the council for a 5-year, if we feel that it can keep the costs at a lower level for a longer period of time. The other issue, big project that we're going to be having is our records management system and our CAD, computer aided dispatch system is coming to the end of life. Currently we pay, I believe, $28,000 a year for our subscription to what we have. We're looking at other RAM systems. However, some of them are significantly more expensive, like 6 figures per year expensive. So we're still trying to work through that. It's something we know we need to do, and we're going to need to do in the relatively near future. There's a lot of data in there, information that we are required by law to keep for public records, so we really have to make sure that any data migration is done in the correct manner so we do not lose anything. So these are all things that we're kind of working on. Obviously we pay under $30,000 a year for what we have, and like I said, some of them were well over $100,000. Emergency operation, the EOPS kitchen is, I actually just got an email yesterday from the Monty Tech cabinet teacher. They want to come out to do the measurements, so that's in the queue. I believe it's a significant cost reduction having Monty Tech do it with what they're doing through, rather than having a commercial kitchen put in like the original plans were supposed to have. It's not going to be a commercial kitchen, but it'll be a functional kitchen, and it'll work for what we need it for. And it'll kind of close the loop on a 10-year project that we've had. So hopefully we can get that done. Dispatch, we have 10 positions filled, 2 still open. We're still trying to hire through that. It's pretty much been a constant hiring cycle, so we're still looking. But everything else has been functioning well. Animal control, I spoke with the 2 veteran animal control officers who informed me that the new one we had started at the end of July. She's just about ready to go, but on her own, so that's excellent news as well. So we'll be back up to full staff for the 4 communities for animal control very, very shortly. The shelter building is in relatively good shape, and any issues have been minor down there, so. But just a kind of a quick overview if anybody has any questions or thoughts.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
You talk about homeless, and there's homeless everywhere. You know, I see it as I venture out. As for gangs, I wouldn't. It's a blunt question, but they're just.
We do have some gang members that have been identified. A lot of it kind of revolves around the drug trade. So what you probably won't see in Gardner is like a group of, a gang like on a corner,
Right.
like maybe like you might think of in a city or something that way. It's not quite the same. It's more spread out, and usually it does revolve around narcotics. And, but we do see it, and fortunately, I think because of, you know, the proactive approach, we take a lot of things, we haven't seen in other places what we've seen. So we do try to stay proactive and address anything like that,
Okay.
that we see.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alright, thank you. Can you just, and anyone who has an electronic copy, can you just email myself from the clerk's office with a copy of your update?
Oh, sure, of course, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, we'll move on to building department.
Morning,
Welcome.
thank you. I'm new here, so not really, never done anything like this.
So you got your defenses up?
I'm sorry,
You
what?
got your defenses up?
I'm trying to put them way down. It's more like nervousness, but not defensiveness. So, staffing, I have recently started as the new commissioner. We welcomed a new local inspector, Tim, and we're still interviewing for an additional local inspector as the current one, Scott, is leaving. Sean continues to serve as our electrical inspector. Jimmy has retired and Dennis has stepped in as the part-time plumbing inspector. Workload. The department is experiencing a high volume of activity, in my opinion, right now. As this is my first week, my focus has been on assessing the current processes and supporting other departments to ensure that all of their needs are met. Technology and systems. So I'm working with our OpenGov representative to schedule a training for staff, identify opportunities for efficiency, and create more standardized procedures across the department. Early conversations with all of most of the department heads have been positive, and their interest in using OpenGov to streamline operations and improve transparency has been positive. Community development. So, a priority moving forward for me in this department is to encourage businesses or to invite them back to Gardner to reinvest, fostering growth and strengthening the city's economic base. Needs and challenges. So training and certification for both inspectors and administrative staff are priorities, as well as establishing consistent internal systems to improve workflows. My goal is to bring the team together, strengthen collaboration, and build department culture that is both efficient and supportive. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. So, if I hear you right, very shortly, everybody's gonna be new in your department?
Almost,
Or let me rephrase it, all the inspectors are gonna be new?
yes,
And then your administrative staff has been there a few years?
yes.
Okay. That's a huge challenge.
It's a fresh start.
That's a fresh start. And I'm just, as an aside, that's
Yeah.
basically what's happened to us with community development. Okay.
It's a little helpful because now I can create the processes and
Yep,
it'll be easier with the staff.
right. Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
I had someone in my ward call me, they had some problems. Where we just had a gentleman that was on for 10 to 12 weeks before you started.
Yes.
They were not getting the return calls and the feedback they wanted. But I did get a call the other day about you, one of them saying that you actually called them on a Saturday.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
said, oh, we're just thrilled, thank you so much, I want to thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just trying to, get everyone
Yeah.
happy again, so
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you. Did just fine.
Oh, great, thanks.
Fire department. Good roll.
Morning, councilors. Okay, I'll, start off with the personnel situation. And at this time, as of today, all budgeted fire department positions are filled, which is good news, again. We have 3 recruit firefighters that were hired back in April that are now at the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy in the 10-week, career recruit training program. And graduation is scheduled for next Friday, September 19th. And the way the fire department handles it is field training and in-house training is completed before they go to the recruit academy. So once they graduate, they are fully trained at that point, and they immediately get assigned to regular shifts, and will be filling vacant slots on those shifts. So as of after next Friday, they will be on shifts. Also, I had one firefighter that was deployed overseas on a military assignment who has completed that. He is completing demobilization right now and is scheduled to return to work on October 2nd. So that's another slot that will be filled. I still have one firefighter on modified duty due to an on-the-job injury. Still no anticipated return date for that firefighter yet. And I also have a lieutenant who's out on injury leave right now. He's expected to return to full duty in early October. So overall, the staffing situation is definitely looking better. It seems to have stabilized, over the past year or so, and hopefully, we continue in that direction. The overtime budget for the first couple months of the year expenditures have been high due to these positions being vacant. We are anticipating that with them all returning, that, starting the beginning of October, that we should see a significant decrease in overtime expenditures to backfill staffing vacancies. So hopefully moving forward, that will continue with lower overall overtime expenditures. On the grant side, we did receive a award of $4,754.34 from the second round of the Massachusetts FY25 Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant. With that funding, we were able to purchase 10 ballistic helmets that provide protection to firefighters and EMTs that have to respond into active shooter or other violent incidents to provide either EMS care or fire control. The helmets will supplement ballistic vests that were purchased several years ago that were also funded with grant money. Unfortunate equipment that we have to buy and have on the trucks, but in today's world, it's something we really need. The awards have not yet commenced for the FY 2024 FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant, commonly known as the AFG grant program. We have repeatedly applied for new portable radios. Hopefully, we're hoping the funding comes through this year. The current radios we are using are now 16 years old, not fire service rated, not heat resistant, not water resistant, which cause issues repeatedly for us. The current radios we are used because of their age are also now considered obsolete. They are no longer supported by the manufacturer. Parts are basically not available for them anymore. And over the last several months since I reported to you last, we've had a couple more radios that have failed, that have been permanently removed to service because they can't be fixed. So we're not quite at the critical level of operational radios right now, but it's quickly approaching that because nothing can be fixed now. As soon as they get damaged, they're removed from service. So we're really hoping that this, funding comes through so we can, purchase the new radios, with the vast majority of it being through grant money. But at some point in the not too distant future, it's gonna become a real critical operational issue for the fire department. On the fleet side, all of the new, apparatus that was purchased with the ARPA funding is now fully in frontline service. The new engine, the new heavy rescue truck, and the ambulance. So that has really bolstered our fleet. And the new E1 tower ladder that funding was approved last fiscal year, or 2 fiscal years ago now. It is still currently scheduled to be in production at the factory before the end of 2025, with hopefully delivery being before the end of 2026. I haven't gotten any further update from the sales company or the manufacturer on that, so I believe that schedule is still holding at this time. The roof replacement project at fire headquarters is finally complete. After a long winter of the roofing company working out there with a lot of challenging conditions and issues. Now we're looking inside the building to repair damage to the ceiling and insulation on the apparatus garage. That's from water damage not related to the wind damage event. It was from previous leaks on the gutter system in that section of the building. And we had to remove a significant amount of drywall and insulation in there a couple of years ago. And we're now looking, now that the roof is complete and not leaking, that we need to replace that. It's not part of the insurance settlement that paid for the roof because it was a pre-existing leak and damage. So the city's gonna have to foot that part of the bill. And we're getting quotes right now with the hope to be able to get the work completed before the winter sets in, to get the insulation and drywall back in place to try to reduce heating costs on that apparatus garage. It's a very difficult space to heat in the winter under normal conditions because the apparatus is going in and out all day, the doors are going up and down a lot, it's difficult to heat, it's expensive to heat. And also with a significant amount of the insulation that had to be removed due to water damage, it's been very expensive to heat over the last few years. So we're hoping to get this done again before cold weather so we can reduce the heating and utility bills over at the fire station. And it's gonna be an expensive project. It's not an easy place for a contractor to work. They're working around fire apparatus that a lot of them have to stay inside in the colder weather because of carrying water, so they can't be left outside. And it's a challenging project because it's already a finished space and there's a lot of obstacles hanging from the ceiling already that they have to work around to work up there. So I don't believe we're gonna be able to cover this project from within the regular repairs and maintenance budget in the regular operating budget. So I would anticipate most likely we're gonna be coming before the council with a free cash request to fund this project. I'm not sure on what the cost is going to be, but I'm anticipating, at this point, somewhere in the range of $50,000. So it's not cheap, but the payoff will be in reduced energy bills over time. Call volume continues to be high this year at the fire department. As of today, we just passed 4,500 calls for emergency assistance throughout 2025. And at that pace, we're if that pace continues, it will be approximately an 8% increase in call volume over last year, which has been a trend since post-pandemic, that the call volume continues to increase annually. That's all I have.
Questions?
So, Christian, when you're talking about the call volume increasing, what's increasing? Is it fire, is it, medical? Or is it something else?
It's overall. There's no one area where it's a really distinct increase.
Yeah.
A couple areas that I have noted increases in are calls for what we refer to as lift assists,
Okay.
where someone, elderly or physically challenged person, suffers a fall, they're not injured, and we go in and we have to assist them back up.
Yep.
They don't get transported to the hospital, or most of them don't have any injury whatsoever. And we've seen a significant increase of that over the last few years. And I would anticipate that is a result of more elderly people trying to stay in their homes for longer periods, which is great. A lot of them will have, part-time home assistance, home health care. And the healthcare system is trying, I believe overall, is trying to move in that direction to keep people in their homes as long as they can and not need full-time care in an assisted living or a nursing home environment, which is great, and overall that's going to reduce healthcare costs as well.
Right.
And the other call type that we've seen an increase in which is another direct result of that situation, is accidental activations of lifelines. The devices have changed, evolved in the last few years, where there used to be a stationary device in the person's house that was directly linked to their landline telephone. Now the trend is that these are moving to either cellular or satellite devices, that a lot of times the people will have like a watch type
Okay.
activation device. A lot of these have fall detection. So we're getting more and more accidental activations where the person is either mobile on the road, in a store, something like that, and they accidentally hit the device, or a fall detection alert that was not a fall, it was a banging the device into a wall or something like that. The lifeline companies, and there's many different providers now out there, they always attempt to contact the subscriber to confirm if it was accidental or not, but if they can't contact them, they initiate a response. And there's definitely been an uptick in those, like something that went from a handful a year to now we're doing a couple hundred a year. So overall in the incident volume total, it's not a big percentage, but those two areas are definitely upticks, and I think they kind of reflect what's going on in the elderly population these days.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
And last but not least, public health.
Good morning. All right, for staffing, we currently have one vacancy open for administrative assistants. That is normally a full-time position. I'm looking to try and fill that for a part-time position for 19 hours a week to assist with license commission duties. That's one of the most detail-oriented permitting processes that we have, with a lot of back and forth and a lot of assistance to the applicant, and it seems that we tried to absorb all of those duties, but it's been a little bit over our capacity with what we're able to handle, so I'm looking to get a part-time person in there to help with that. I have one transfer station employee who's been out on a medical leave. That's expected to last at least 6 more weeks, and then we'll reevaluate that position if we have any needs there, if he's able to come back or not. Now move on to the landfill and solid waste. At the landfill, I currently have 2 projects needing completion. The first one would be repair to the landfill erosion. The landfill is slowly settling over time, leading to issues with our letdown channels, and that is something that we have an open corrective item with Mass DEP, and that kind of leads to the second project, which is the leachate pump station pump system at the landfill. It is 20 years old, and it is basically at the end of life, and basically has to be replaced at this point because it's no longer functioning as intended, which could risk having the leachate escape the landfill and escape containment. So we have an open bid right now for that project. The bid's going to be closing on October 3rd, and then we will hopefully have a contractor who's going to be able to start working on that in like November timeframe and get that done. But that will most likely put the landfill budget over budget. But at this point, we have no other choice but to do that. I've already had to have Wind River come out and pump the leachate down for us, and that is a costly thing to do. So we're trying to avoid having to do that too much before we get this system fixed. For the transfer station, the DPW has stepped in and helped us repair some of the drainage issues that have been in fact impacting like the transfer station lot. So they've kind of repaired the drainage between the landfill and the transfer station lot, where we were getting a big flow of water that led to some erosion right behind where we keep our open top containers. So DPW helped us out and repaired that as well. We're also working on just general safety out there. We have some new stairs that we installed for one of the bays. We've established some new protocols for operation of heavy equipment out there. And we are also looking to either start utilizing trash compactors or at least improve the solid waste drop-off area with railings and better footing there for improved safety to residents. I think the addition of compactors would also kind of offset its own costs with just the reduction in trip fees. So it wouldn't take long to sort of pay for itself. If we were able to get that in, we just kind of have to figure out if the landfills, if the electrical out there is good enough to actually facilitate compactors, and we would also need to install some concrete pads for those. So we are also currently in negotiations for the next curbside collection contract starting in July of 2026. So I got bids from Waste Management, E.L. Harvey, and G.W. Shaw. Right now I'm negotiating with G.W. Shaw and E.L. Harvey to try and get the lowest cost possible. So I'm kind of working on that right now, and I'm hoping to get something agreed upon here relatively soon, just because there's a big lead time if anybody has to purchase a new trash truck or do anything else to start doing the curbside collection. Let's see. We have had no foodborne illness complaints or really very low number of food establishment complaints in general. So I think the inspectors are doing a great job of getting out there and making sure to follow up with everyone and stay on top of all our food establishments. For new establishments, we have Walmart still in the process of, they're gonna be remodeling, and that includes some of their food service areas. We just approved plans for a new market and bakery called Joy Market and Bakery. That's gonna be at 22 Union Square. Next, for Title V and private wells, the Mass DEP released some additional guidance for ADU construction. So if we do get any inquiries about that, we'll have the guidance as far as what needs to be done. But in most cases, it'll basically result in the need for a brand new septic system, unless somebody planned ahead and built an extra capacity into the system they already have. So we've only had one inquiry on that so far. The Board of Health is going to be voting on the final draft of our private well regulations at the next Board of Health meeting. So the big change there would be that we are adding PFAS testing to the water testing quality requirements. That would just be a good way to kind of indicate if there are any PFAS issues in the water table around town. So I think that's a great development. Let's see. We haven't had any tobacco or alcohol violations since the last meeting, and we're hoping to keep it that way. So for prevention coordinator, we had our national night out, and it was a extremely well attended event, and I just want to thank Veronica for putting that on. And it seems like we benefited from doing it on a different night from all the other towns, and also just had a lot more activities and events and vendors for people, and people had a lot of great feedback about that. And then the last two things are that Gardner is still at low risk for Triple E and West Nile virus. There's 0 Triple E human or animal cases in the state right now, and there are 4 West Nile human cases, 1 animal case. And it seems like the weather has definitely helped with mosquito activity, and if it continues this way, I think we'll stay at low risk until the end of the season. We are going to be having respiratory disease vaccine clinics, so that would normally include flu and COVID shots. We will definitely have flu shots available at those clinics, but due to some of the uncertainty with federal versus state recommendations and then insurance reimbursements, we most likely won't have COVID vaccine available for those clinics, and we may have to schedule some additional clinics later on in the year if we're able to get our hands on that. But that's going to be the first one coming up at the PACC on the 24th from 3 to 6:30. The Banal House on October 6th from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then we'll have one at City Hall, which will be open to all City Hall employees. And that's going to be on October 20th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's all I've got for you.
Questions, Council?
All set, thank you.
All set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, thank you to the department heads for those updates. We'll now move on to old business 11552, communication with traffic administration regarding the number of vehicles towed under the city's winter parking ban procedures. To speak on this item?
Morning. So we did have a traffic commission meeting after the last meeting we had here. We did discuss and decided to revamp what we presented to you folks. And we're looking still at the hybrid model, but maybe just starting it out with 2 months, the month of January and February, which seem to be the months we get more snow. And then anything outside of those 2 months would be the way we're currently doing it with the Code Red system. So the January and February months would be the hard no parking, 10 a.m. to, or 10 p.m. to, or 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I think is what was in there. And that would be for those 2 months, and that's what we're presenting, and to see if you folks agree with that, and if it goes to council or a public hearing or whatnot. But those are the recommendations from the Traffic Commission.
I'll just reiterate, as I mentioned last time, the system right now is very cumbersome and difficult, and it's a pretty good burden on our public safety to clear the roads before the plows can get through. This would help, especially during the peak, winter event times to clear the roads. The DPW, obviously, I don't know if they have all their routes staffed or not, but it's going to be much easier to make a pass once as opposed to 2 or 3 times, time consuming as well. The roads will be cleared quicker. It is an inconvenience, I get it. We certainly do understand that parking is limited, but it's one of those things, there's competing interests here. So we gotta figure out, and in my opinion, the need to clear the roads just carries a much higher need, so.
And I did update the numbers for 2025. I think it was 144 at the time the original one was done, and that was in February 9th. So I went from February 10th to the current date, and there was 33 more vehicles that were towed, so a total of 177 vehicles so far just for 2025.
All right, I'll open this item up for discussion.
I think that something definitely has to be done. It's not gonna be popular with a lot of people, but sometimes you have to do what works, what's best for it. And I agree with the traffic commission at this time, and if that eventually doesn't work, then you can move it around a little different again, but you really have to do something there. I understand that a lot of these landlords, a lot of these apartment houses that were built years ago with hardly no parking. But years ago, people didn't have a lot of cars. Some people walked to work at the furniture factories, and if they had one car, they were lucky. So now you've got multiple cars everywhere, and it's tough out there. It's tough when there's no snow out there to get by them, never mind with snow. So I have no problem with what you've put out there.
And I guess I would piggyback on that when the change was made from a winter parking ban to what I call a Code Red system, I think there was kind of an understanding that for that Code Red system to work, people had to be cooperative with it, and to be aware of when the storms were and had to get off the road. And we're finding that that's becoming a challenge because people don't want to. I think this is kind of a hybrid system is good because it forces people to figure out where they're going to put their car for the winter, which then gives them a place when there is a storm, when there is a Code Red, they know where they can go. And so it also makes it easier, of course, for city personnel to keep the roads clear. The irony with people is that they're bad because they have to move their cars to plow, but if we were to just not make the move and plow the roads and leave the snow where it lay around their cars, they'd be upset about that too. So what's the best, what's the safest? I think doing it this way allows us it says to people, okay, you've got to have a place to go in the winter. A couple of months we're going to just say you have to be off because those are the months most likely to have snow. And then if this works, we leave it. If we still continue to have trouble during code reds, then we can expand, it's easier than to expand the time, because there's a presumption that people do have a place to put their vehicle.
So at this point, we would need to draft an ordinance to reflect this recommendation. I'd also suggest if someone is interested, they might motion to have a public hearing. I'd suggest perhaps an hour before our not Monday's council meeting, but October's council meeting.
And that would be, I'll be glad to make the motion. Is that with us or with the council?
I would suggest it be with us, but having it before the council meeting.
Allows other councilors to.
Allow the other
see it.
councilors to be.
And that's why it's a public hearing, so we're not really talking, we have to sit there and be quiet. So I'll make the motion that we move forward with drafting an ordinance and with, scheduling a public hearing before the committee, before a regular council meeting. About an hour before the regular council meeting.
I second that.
Motion by Councilor Brooks, second by Councilor Hardren to recommend drafting the ordinance as recommended by the Traffic Commission and scheduling a public hearing an hour before a regular council meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the second item on this agenda was item 11692, communication from the Traffic Commission relative to a measure to adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 90, Section 17C, establishment of a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in thickly settled or business district in city or town. Deputy Chief.
So the city clerk had sent me something, and I did find some wording in the city ordinance. It looks like maybe the council already voted on this in 2021. They did accept for the traffic commission to set the 25-mile-per-hour zones in the city. In the letter that was drafted that I looked at from 2021 is very similar to what we drafted. So I'm thinking it already has been brought in front of the council. I just don't think, I guess the question would be, there was no letter sent to the state, and was it for the citywide, or was it just for, they're gonna do the individual roads? Because we're asking for the citywide one, which would make it so the traffic commission could recommend the streets, and then council could vote on it and accept those streets, and then create a section for it similar to our no parking section in the city ordinance that would list those streets, as opposed to having to do each street individually and then individually sending those to the state. So the overall city one wouldn't mean we're setting the speed limit for the city completely for 25 miles an hour. It would just be a working document as areas evolve, because it would be for business districts and thickly settled areas. So as our neighborhoods become more population increases, more houses being built, it would allow the traffic commission to reevaluate due to the size of the growth of that roadway. Is it something that we need to look at as 25 mile per hour, as opposed to having to individually vote every time and then send a new letter to the state? So I don't know if that was what the intention was on the one in 2021 or not. We'd have to look at that as a traffic commission to see if that was actually what the vote was for in 2021, or if it was just to allow the commission to come up with those roadways, and then do we have to individually send them to the state? So our proposal is that the council accept it as a citywide, and then we only need to send one letter to the state saying we've adopted the citywide, and then it would just go through council every time if we were adding streets to a list that was established. And we did come up with a list based off what we have currently, and that's the recommendation that we would ask for the 25 mile an hour zones.
As I understand it, section 17 was citywide, section 18 is when you're specifying street
Yep.
by street.
I think with 17C, it gives the city more local control, is kind of the gist of.
Yeah, and that looks like that was the one that was voted on, but it doesn't sound like anything maybe was sent to the state after that, so it would just be now just notifying the state that was accepted, when the date was that it was accepted, so they have it on file, so then we can now create our 25-mile-an-hour zones.
Who would be notifying the state? Would that be the traffic commission, DPW?
That, I don't know if the city clerk would have been responsible for that. I don't know,
Yeah.
how that would work. I would think, once the council voted, that a letter would be sent out. I don't know who that would come from, I don't know where.
I think usually if the city adopts a state law, it's the clerk's office that would notify the Secretary of State, I think, to say,
Well,
the city has accepted the statute.
Yes, so I actually have where it would go to be sent to, and it's the traffic enforcement, or I forget the exact name, but it was through Mass DOT.
Okay.
So is the traffic commission still wanting chapter 18 to specify street by street? I know we discussed both in the traffic commission.
Yeah, I think what we were looking for was the citywide one, and then it would be up to city council to accept the streets that we recommend. And that would be, I think we felt that would be the easier way to do it, just in the event, in that list needs to expand at any point.
I think, I don't know if there's any confusion, Counselor, but, so 18, every time you would want to designate a certain area, you'd have to do the process. You'd have to change the code, you'd have to send a letter into the state, but my understanding is 17C, you just, the council would approve state, citywide, and then as we deemed fit locally, you could add, the traffic commission could bring you those streets, and then the council as a whole could approve those streets, and we wouldn't have to keep sending a letter to the state. And 18, we would have to basically send a letter every time we changed, like a special regulation street. So that it just gives, I think my understanding of 17C gives us more control locally.
Yes.
So we can say, council, this is what we see for problems in this particular area. It's a densely populated, we can make this a 25 zone. Is this okay? And you guys could determine if, yeah, we should make this a 25.
So the action at this point would be to make sure the clerk informs the state.
Yes, and just
to also,
to see what the vote was on in 2021, I think it was September 2021.
and update.
To see if the vote was to actually adopt.
Right.
Because the way the wording is, it just says to give the traffic commission authority to establish 25-mile-an-hour zones. So if the council had voted and accepted 9017C, then I would say they just need to be the state just needs to be notified that we've adopted that, and then we would, as a traffic commission, could recommend the streets, which we did put with that letter, and then it would just go up to city council, and then it would be a drafting of a separate ordinance for specialty speed zones. I don't know where you would have that fall under current ordinances, but it would be set up similar to the no parking one, where it lists the streets that are designated you can't park on one side or both sides of the street as a city ordinance.
Yeah, look at a few places, and they all seem to be under vehicle operation.
Yep.
And one thing I don't know if this needs to be clarified for anybody listening, is that just because the city adopts this, doesn't mean your street can be a 25. It has to meet the criteria. So anybody who hears this and says, oh, my street can be a 25 because we get speeding complaints, a lot of streets through the city, that's not how it exactly works. So just because you want it on your street doesn't mean it necessarily can happen. It has to be on criteria. So I just want to, anybody listening, caution that too, before we start getting calls for 25-mile-an-hour zones everywhere in the city. So
Because it would have to meet the criteria for thickly settled or a business district.
I would say, as a kid, Elm Street was 25 miles an hour, posted 25, and somewhere it changed to 30, and I'm assuming it changed because we were not allowed to post a 25, we had to post 30.
it's exactly correct, Councilor. And again, we get a lot of speeding complaints, and I do think a lot of times 30 miles an hour in a densely populated or thickly settled area looks a lot faster than it is. So I think that the purpose of the 25 is we can locally reduce that and try to slow things down in neighborhoods. So, but you're right. It was probably an illegal 25-mile-an-hour zone back in the day.
questions or comments?
No.
Think we'll ask for more time on this item, so we can follow up
Yep.
on what was voted on in 2021, and then draft an ordinance appropriate as such. If there's no objection, we'll take more time on this item. Councilor, questions, concerns, comments? Councilor Harden?
I don't have any questions. I'd like to thank, all the department heads and you gentlemen here sitting here. Make it easy out there. You know, be safe, all of you.
Thank you.
Also, I have no councilor, comments or concerns. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by councilor Harden, second by councilor Brooks to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.